It progresses. Now, hundreds of workers have gone on a nationwide strike at the National Health Laboratory Services over unfair working conditions. Now, the workers belonging to the National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union, that's NEHAWU, say they've downed tools over remuneration-related issues, including frozen salaries and inadequate supply of personal protective equipment amidst COVID-19. Now, the union says pickets will continue throughout the week and even culminate in a stay away on Friday. We continue to catch up with a little bit more on this story. Then my colleague Mbalenhle Mthethwa is out in Sandringham with a few more NHLS workers then as well. Mbalenhle, this becomes one instance that we're not looking for, particularly across a time when the pandemic is still ravaging through not just South Africa but the rest of the world, and it certainly sends a horrible message.
Yes, indeed. It is sending quite a harsh message to the rest of the country, because we understand the role that the National Health Laboratory Services plays with regards to South Africans getting regular updates in terms of the number of affected and infected South Africans. We understand that, this strike might actually be interdicted going forward. We understand, based on a briefing that happened a bit earlier ago, is that the company, the employer, has interdicted the strike, and essentially workers have vowed to come back from as early as 3:30 tomorrow morning. That is when they'll be waiting for an outcome from the Essential Services Committee, which will make a decision on whether they are declared as essential workers or not. And we understand that as essential workers, it will make it particularly difficult for them to actually embark on a strike. But to talk to us about what's happened so far and what we can expect tomorrow, we're joined by one of the provincial coordinators, Ubaba here, Mthethwa. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Talk to us, Mthethwa, about, are you happy with the outcome, with today's outcome? The numbers, are you happy with them? And you can talk to us about tomorrow. Can we expect more people to come through?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. We are really happy. We are satisfied with the turnout today, not only here, but in all our strategic branches of NHLS that we have ring-fenced as key and strategic. So they've came out in big numbers, regardless of a legal cloud hanging on top of this particular strike.
And what happens if, tomorrow the committee rules that, these laboratory workers are actually, in fact, essential workers? What will happen going forward?
Firstly, we'll come tomorrow after the outcome of that hearing. We'll come and address our members about the outcomes. But if the outcomes comes not in our favor, it is not the end of the road, because the essential service provisions are that if a particular service has been declared or designated as essential service, it means therefore that we must enter into minimum service agreement with the employer to say during our industrial action how many of our workers or which areas that are very essential and critical should be manned during our strike, and how many of our workers should continue with the strike. So the outcome of that particular process is not the end of it, because being designated essential service is not a life sentence. There is also a life after it, because once it has been designated essential service, we must enter into urgent minimum service agreement, insofar as making sure that when we continue with our strike, there are workers who man the critical posts in these particular institutions.
Okay, thank you so much. There you have it. That was one of the provincial coordinators, who is his name is Mthethwa, talking to us about what they plan on doing if the outcome tomorrow is not in their favor. Essentially, they will have to go back to the drawing board and see how they will go about ventilating their issues and bringing attention to what they call are unfair working conditions. We understand that they have been making some demands with regards to the adequate supply of personal protective equipment, and essentially he's saying that they will be looking at other ways in order to do that, and they will not, and that this a declaration of them being essential workers will not be a death sentence and will not end the strike per se, but they might even go on a go slow or maybe even continue with the lunchtime pickets as they have been doing since last week, Friday. But for now, though, Arabile, it's back to you in studio.
Mbalenhle Mthethwa, appreciate that reporting there out, of course, in Sandringham with NHLS workers there. Just, of course, it does bode well to kind of state really the conditions under which the NEHAW workers themselves who are affiliated with the NEHAW have certainly put forward some of their issues. The provision of personal protective equipment is one of about 6 issues that they've actually brought forward. One of those is really annual salary wage negotiations, demand for a salary increase of about 11% across the board. So far, though, the NHLS, which does provide quite a bit of testing for things like COVID-19 as well, even TB testing, HIV testing, and does do quite a few other proficiency tests, has actually only offered 0% in terms of a salary increase at this time to all its workers. And it says that it's been impacted by the fiscal position that the country finds itself in, and that salary increases will not be sustainable in the long run. There's also the proficiency assessments that they're looking for, performance management systems, which they say have certainly been delayed in many instances, a contribution to even the pension fund, the first port of call for Labour is to engage the pension fund adjudicators, what NEHAW has made note of, as well as the filling of vacant positions. They say that the NHLS has filled 934 positions at this point. Of this number, 285 are considered to be vacancies related to the core business. So a lot of question marks being put out there as well. Mbalenhle Mthethwa, appreciate the reporting there out there, and certainly we hope to get to grips with this one as it continues to rage on. So indeed, there the Labour Court declaring NEHAW's unplanned strike as unlawful.